The crystalline halls of the Zephyrian mothership trembled as Queen Veltara's roar echoed through the corridors. Her bioluminescent scales flared from deep purple to blazing crimson, a clear sign of her mounting rage. The massive alien monarch stood 12 feet tall, her forearms gesticulating wildly as her advisors cowered before her. "My sons!" she shrieked, her voice carrying the harmonics that could shatter lesser minds. "Where are my precious hatchlings?" Commander Crixall, his own scales a nervous yellow, stepped forward hesitantly. "Your Majesty, they were last seen in the lower observation decks near the human quarters." Another deafening roar cut him off. Queen Veltara's tail, thick as a tree trunk and lined with razor-sharp spines, lashed against the nearest wall, leaving deep gouges in the biometal surface. "The humans!" she snarled. "I knew allowing those soft-skinned primitives aboard was a mistake." The Zephyrian Queen's two sons, barely a month old but already the size of large dogs, had vanished during the ship's diplomatic mission to Earth. The young princes, Zix and Nax, possessed all the predatory instincts of their species: retractable claws, venomous bite, and an armored hide that could deflect plasma bolts. They were apex predators in the making, and now they were missing. David Chen rubbed his eyes as he sat in the observation lounge of the human quarters. The 26-year-old xenobiologist had volunteered for this historic first contact mission. But 3 weeks of constant tension between the human delegation and their Zephyrian hosts had taken its toll. His colleague Emma Rodriguez had warned him that the aliens viewed humans as little more than amusing pets, but David maintained hope for peaceful relations. Emma entered the lounge, her auburn hair tied back in a practical ponytail. "Still can't sleep?" she asked, settling into the chair across from him. "The Queen's been roaring all night," David replied, gesturing toward the reinforced windows that looked out into space. "Something's got her worked up." "I heard from Ambassador Torres that her sons are missing," Emma said, lowering her voice. "The entire ship's on high alert. They think someone might have—" A soft chittering sound interrupted her. Both humans froze as two small scaled forms emerged from behind the furniture. The young Zephyrian princes approached cautiously, their large, multifaceted eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the observation windows. "Oh my God," Emma whispered. "Those are the Queen's sons," David finished, his heart racing. The creatures were magnificent despite their youth, sleek predators with iridescent scales and tiny, needle-sharp teeth, visible in their slightly parted mouths. By all rights, they should have been terrifying. Instead, the smaller one, Nax, made a sound almost like a purr and butted his head against David's leg. "They're just babies," David said softly, reaching down slowly. To his amazement, Nax allowed himself to be petted, his scales warming under the human's gentle touch. Zix approached Emma with similar curiosity, his aggressive posture melting away as she offered her hand for inspection. The young prince sniffed delicately, then pressed his snout into her palm. "This is impossible," Emma breathed. "Zephyrians are supposed to be incapable of cross-species bonding. Their neural pathways are completely different from mammalian empathy responses." David carefully lifted Nax, surprised by how light the alien felt despite his armored appearance. "Maybe we've been thinking about this all wrong. Maybe intelligence and emotion aren't as species-specific as we thought." The next few hours passed in a blur of gentle play and unexpected bonding. The young princes seemed to find something irresistibly comforting about the humans' warm, soft skin and steady heartbeats. As the ship's night cycle deepened, both alien hatchlings grew drowsy. Zix curled up against Emma's side, his scales shifting to a peaceful blue-green. Nax settled directly on David's chest, his small claws carefully retracted to avoid injury. Within minutes, both creatures were fast asleep, their breathing synchronized with their human companions. David and Emma exchanged amazed glances over the sleeping aliens. "We should probably contact the Queen," Emma whispered. "Probably," David agreed, but neither moved. There was something profound about this moment. Two species that were supposed to be incompatible finding comfort in each other's presence. The peace was shattered by the observation lounge doors exploding inward. Queen Veltara stormed in, flanked by a dozen armed guards, her scales blazing with fury. Her 4 eyes locked onto the scene before her, and she raised all 4 arms, energy crackling between her claws. "Unhand my sons, you filthy mammals," she roared. The sound woke the princes, but instead of fleeing to their mother, both hatchlings pressed closer to their human companions, chittering in distress at the loud noise. David slowly raised one hand in a peaceful gesture while keeping the other protectively over Nax. Your Majesty, they came to us. We haven't harmed them. Lies! Veltara snarled. But her advance halted as she noticed something that made her scales flicker with confusion. Her sons weren't cowering or crying out in pain. Instead, they looked content. Zix stretched lazily against Emma's side while Nax made the same purring sound he'd made earlier. Emma spoke up, her voice steady despite the terrifying alien queen looming over them. They fell asleep here on their own. I think they felt safe with us. The queen's rage began to falter as she watched Nax nuzzle against David's neck, clearly seeking comfort from the human rather than freedom from him. In all her centuries of life, Veltara had never seen her people show such trust toward another species. This is impossible, she whispered, echoing Emma's earlier words. David carefully stood, still cradling Nax. Your Majesty, maybe our species aren't so different after all. Your sons found something they needed here. Maybe it's the same thing we're all looking for. And what is that, human? The queen asked, her voice barely above a whisper. David looked down at the sleepy hatchling in his arms, then met the alien queen's gaze. Connection, understanding, maybe even friendship. Queen Veltara's scales slowly shifted from angry red to a thoughtful silver. For the first time since the humans had come aboard, she wondered if these strange, soft creatures might have something valuable to offer after all. As dawn broke across the ship's artificial horizon, two species took their first real step toward understanding each other, one peaceful moment at a time.